Here's the down and dirty for this weekend's astrology. 1, Venus is in a beautiful aspect to Pluto. What can this mean? Transformation through relationships. Ooh, I'll talk a little more about that in a second. But theme number 2 is a big one. Jupiter's moving into Gemini on Saturday. All 3 of these things happen on Saturday. That's the peak, but the whole weekend will be flavored by this. So Jupiter, that's expansive, that's grace-filled, that's blessings, that's good luck. He's on the move. He's moving into a whole new area of the body. He's moving into the mind and of life. And we'll talk about that in a second a little bit more. Third theme is evolution of the masculine, healing of the masculine, healing of the warrior, healing of God of War. That's Mars. So Hygeia is conjunct Mars on that total solar eclipse point. This is kind of destined. It's like destined healing. It's like destined awakening of higher forms of the masculine in ourselves, in our world. Hopefully, like, let's just pray for that to happen all over really rampantly, like Hygeia. How can I add some juju behind you? So Hygeia is Kundalini goddess of miraculous healing and awakening. Yeah, it's stunning. Okay, let's dive into these a little bit more just to feel into what they could mean for you. So I'll give you some keywords. Here's back to that transformation through relationships piece. This Venus in a trine to Pluto. Pluto, lord of the underworld. Pluto was the archetypal energy that abducted Persephone. But here's the gift of it. And this is what can be showing up for us. It's like an initiation into our feminine power. Initiation. It's like a rites of passage. So Persephone went from maiden to queen. It's like she was activated into her deeper, darker, more hidden, wilder, sexual powers by Pluto. So you can kind of feel into that. That may be something. Also might be something like Beauty and the Beast. That's another really good way of looking at the Persephone myth, or the Hades, right? So this is Hades and Venus. But a way of that is like loving the beast. Like love, like Beauty and the Beast. Beauty is Venus, the Beast is Hades. And you can kind of feel into it from that aspect. What's coming up? Transformation, right? But it's grace-filled transformation in relationships, love, matters of the heart, passion, the feminine, kind of feel into that. Okay, so now let's dive in a little bit deeper into the Jupiter moving into Gemini aspect. My gosh, I could talk about this for an entire week, but let's just feel into what's really personal. Like, let's get personal about it, because there's all kinds of talk about AI and the next year. So Jupiter will be in Gemini for a year, and if we were to feel into the personal side of it, 1, I would very much say, look at where Gemini is in your birth chart. So what house does Gemini fall in? What house is Jupiter transiting this year for you? That's going to bring expansion of that area of life. So for instance, let's say you have Gemini 7th house. Jupiter's transiting your 7th house. That's long-term partnership. That's marriage. So that's like grace, blessings, good luck, good fortune, expansion, growth in the area of intimate relationships, long-term partnerships, marriage, potentially. This is beautiful. If you don't know your birth chart or you don't know how to look that up, we have a free masterclass. It's super easy. Type Astro and we'll shoot you a link to the free masterclass. It's like 90 minutes. I talk about how to run a free birth chart and then how to look for that. So super easy. If you're up for that, again, totally free. Just type Astro in the comments. We'll shoot you that over. All right, so more on the personal side, outside of looking at your birth chart. This is like mind expansion. So Gemini, this is a really good gift. This is one of the gifts and something to be open to around this next year and what's happening is like growth through mental processes, expansion through the mind, expansion through mental processes, expansion through, here's a great thing about Gemini. We oftentimes think it's the twins. It's like, oh my gosh, yes or no, right or wrong, right? There's like 2 sides, like it's the twins, right? 2-sided thing. But the cool thing about Gemini is when you get at really high levels with Gemini, it's that there's a third way. You just feel that. There's a third way. It's not either or. There's a third way. There's a third thing that gets created. Or there are multiple paths. It's not option A or B. It's actually, there's C, D, E, and F. Amazing. So kind of, if we can let our minds be blown, that's about what Jupiter's going to want to do in Gemini. Like, let our minds be blown into newer ways of thinking, like newer, more expanded ways of thinking. That's very much what's going to want to happen. Also, things like growth, right? That's Jupiter growth, like the new. Let's grow, let's expand, let's expand our consciousness. And so that being in Gemini can be more airy. It can feel more airy. It can move quicker. It can move much quicker. Like you can feel into like rapid expansion, rapid quickness, versus when it was in Taurus, takes a little bit longer. Like the expansion and the growth, it's like, we got to get through like physical objects, right? And when it's in Gemini, it's like lightning fast. The little bit of a hazard to it is that it can sometimes be a little surfacey. Can be a little surfacey. So sometimes when it's like this growth and expansion, it's like, wow, it's happening so fast. But it's not like the deepest depths of like long-term lasting transformation. So just feel into that, right? That's not always the case. It's just something to like keep in your back pocket around this whole year. Again, Jupiter is in Gemini for an entire year. And really, here's what I would love. Like if you're up for it, maybe you know your birth chart, leave a comment below saying where Jupiter's transiting. Which house is your Gemini in? Which house is Jupiter transiting? So I'll share with you mine. It's the 7th house. The one I gave you the example of, right? Someone's pooping their pants around fucking intimate relationship right now. Who knows? No, I'm just kidding. Not really. Kind of a little bit. Whatever. I'll keep you updated on that stuff. Okay, let's talk about this last one. And this is Mars conjunct Hygeia. I love this. I mean, it's like, think about a warrior who, you know, like, and this is a part of self too. This is not outside of ourselves, but we can just think about it outside of ourselves just because it might give us some insights to ourselves. Think of a warrior, right? And they're going to war and they just have like war fever. They have like battle fever, right? And they're just like warring for the sake of fucking warring. And then they dive into like toxic warrior, right? And Hygeia comes along. Hygeia. And she's like sacred prostitute. But she's like grace-filled, healing, enlivening, awakening, spiritually aligned sacred prostitute. And she's like, warrior, let's love this out of you. Let's love the toxicity out of you. Let's love you into a higher state of consciousness. Let me bring feminine magic, feminine grace, feminine gifting. And by the way, it doesn't have to be sexual. I'm just giving you a fun example, right? Let me bring you this flavor of feminine, divine feminine energy, sacred feminine energy that is pure healing, pure awakening, right? It is beautiful. Let me bring this to you to heal you, to bring you into a more evolved expression, a more heart-aligned expression, right? A warrior who becomes a sacred warrior, right? Versus like toxic battle fever, I'm just in war mode. This is stunning. That's this weekend. So feel into that. Get super creative if you feel like diving into any of those archetypes, right? It's Mars. That's the warrior. Conjunct Hygeia. They're on the eclipse. So you can dive into those archetypes. If you don't have archetypal ways of working, I don't know, stay tuned because we're going to release a lot of archetypal stuff over the next year. Some of you are already doing it. Jupiter's beautiful to work with, of course, because it's so loud when changing signs. It's so big and helps us to come into alignment with the change of tides. Like it's a change of tides. It's a real like line in the sand. It's interesting how much of a line in the sand this particular transit is on Saturday, right? So it's like a line in the sand. And maybe that's a meditation you want to do is just draw a line in the sand. I'm drawing a line in the sand and I'm moving into the new. This is it. I'm moving into the new. It's newer and truer. I'm looking forward into my highest and my best. That's Jupiter, highest and best, my greatest self, my greatest expression of self. That would be a really good practice to do this weekend. All right, the other archetypes, it was Venus and it was Hades or Pluto. And you can also feel into Persephone because Venus can open the door to Persephone and you can kind of feel into that like innocence. She brings innocence. She brings maiden into queen, right? Like that. She brings the reclamation of our sexuality, the reclamation of shadow parts of self and ownership of shadow parts of self. Anyways, I don't need to go into all of that. This was not a down and dirty, super short and sweet sort of a thing. I feel like I just dove in, but I hope it served. If it did, leave a comment below. I'm always there for a while. The team is always there. I love hearing from you all. It's been stunning and is stunning what our community is doing. And I just love that we get to be here and be a part of it. Again, Astro gets you the free masterclass to get the birth chart, to figure out where your Jupiter is. Leave a comment with which house Jupiter's transiting for you. I'd love to know. And I think that's it.